Hello, everyone, and welcome to Los Angeles, California for this edition of FC Live, where in just moments, the U.S. men's national team will start their World Cup campaign with their opener against Paraguay. We are pitched up here so comfortable because you know what they say, West Coast, best coast, and you know you're not going to get any arguments from us. We have a very sweet seat just outside Los Angeles Stadium as we count down to that USA opener, but we'll be talking all things U.S. men's national team later on. However, there was another host nation in action today. Mexico did the job yesterday with a win over South Africa, but Canada dropped some points in their opener against Bosnia-Herzegovina. Welcome, everyone, to our fancy set. Alexis Nunes here alongside JJ, Jermaine Jones, as well as Kasey, Keller. Guys, pretty nice setup we have here, right?
Yeah, you can't get much closer. You can't get much better. Could be a little cooler, but other than that, it's fantastic.
At least there's a little bit of breeze. But let's talk about Canada right now. As we said, we spoke yesterday so much on ESPN FC about the importance of being the host nation and winning that first game. Canada now, we could take the positives out of that result in the sense that they were able to pull one back and get that equalizer by Kyle Larin. But they will be looking at this as points dropped, Kasey.
Well, and they'll be looking at it from the way that they played and the amount of opportunities they created. Now, give Bosnia some credit. After they got the goal, they kind of dropped back and defended it a bit and absorbed some pressure. But 2 goal line clearances, multiple opportunities for Canadian strikers to get on the score sheet, and they weren't able to capitalize until Larin came in off the bench. So, yes, I would still say probably 2 points lost from the way they played as opposed to 1 point gained, but definitely is a little bit more difficult not picking up all 3 points in your first match.
JJ, what did you think of the game?
Yeah, I'm going with Kasey. I think it's the tough one for Canada because you're playing at home and it's your first game for this tournament and you want to go in to try to win it. Now you're getting, with a 1-1, with a point, you get out of that game and you ask yourself how, because you had a lot of chances to score, but you don't finish the game off. Credit to Bosnia that they stayed in the game and made it tough for Canada to get their game in, So but all over when you look at the game, I think the loser on that game, even if it's like 1-1. I think was Canada because I think they hoped to get the start with the win.
Now, for those who don't remember, it was actually Bosnia and Herzegovina who got the better of Italy in that UEFA playoff. And I think a lot of people, Kasey, underestimated them. Then everyone was saying you have a 40-year-old captain in Edin Dzeko. We know exactly what he was back in his heyday, but at his age right now, you're not necessarily expecting him to be that impactful player. But do you feel Bosnia were underestimated a little bit today?
Maybe a little bit, but I think most teams respect teams that get out of European qualifying. You understand the difficulties of that. When you beat in Italy, you understand that you have enough quality that you can upset anybody in this tournament. Now, I think what we did see from Bosnia and Herzegovina was just that little lack of athleticism that Canada showed they were faster. And because of that pace advantage, they were able to catch them on the counterattack. I think if 2 or 3 times, if Bosnia and Herzegovina had maybe that little bit more pace up front, particularly as Canada was pushing more numbers forward to find that equalizing goal, they could have punished them. But they weren't able to, but they have good size, they have strength, they're organized, they're a solid team, and they can cause some problems.
JJ, underestimated a little bit?
No, I don't think so. I think every team or every country that comes to the World Cup, you respect them to be here because it doesn't matter how the qualifier went through or whatever happened there. I think if you come to this stage here and you play the games, it's 90 minutes and the game starts by 0-0 and you can beat everybody, but you can get beat by everybody too. So I just think that at the end for Canada, I think they will go back. They will sit and they say, how were we not able to win this game if we have the chances we had? So for Bosnia, they will look at it and go, okay, that was our first game. We had a point. And I think if you look at the game, clearly you were able to see that Bosnia was more the team who said, you know what, we look what we get out here. Set pieces, what is the chance on to get it? Then they get in front with a set piece. And then after that even, they waited just for the breaks and they wanted to let Canada have the game. And on the other side, you can say Canada upset because they don't make the chances. If they score all the chances they have, the game will be in Canada's hands, and you go maybe home and you say we have a win for first game 3-1 because the chances were there.
Mentally, does this feel like more of a win for Bosnia?
No, because they conceded late. I think if they had conceded that equalizing goal 10 minutes after, then potentially they would have said, yeah, we held on for 70 minutes, got a point. But I think they were really looking at that, taking it to the way they did, the goal line clearances, the last-ditch tackles, the blocks, and they kind of had this idea that, yeah, we can fight for this 1-0 lead and win this match. And then when they conceded, you saw the frustration. But I think when they go back and analyze the tape, and they'll realize that, yes, they were the second best team. And if you logically look at it in hindsight, you'll probably say, yeah, a point was a good result.
Well, just some images here of a watch party in Montreal. This is the moment Canada got that much-needed equalizer. Kyle Larin making the impact and making the Canadians very happy. This is how things stand now in the Group B standings. Canada and Bosnia level on points. Qatar and Switzerland have yet to play. But Kyle Larin, let's talk about him. JJ, he truly made that impact as well. And what did you make of the subs that Jesse Marsch made?
I think like, if you look at it now, I think he made everything right? He brought the guys in, and they bring us straight again. As a coach, I think you always hope for that little bit impact to give you another push. And it's the best you can do. If you bring somebody in, he scores at the end of it. So, and I think Lauren, when you see even the goal, how he did it with the ball, gets to his feet, he turns in good, and then the ball was a little bit reflected, and it got in. But I think in general, the subs he brought in, they gave Canada another push to go forward, and the subs were all on point.
I think the one surprise was the fact that they needed a goal. And they took off their star striker.
Speaking of needing something late on, we've got our Hercules Gomez joining us. He, of course, was doing fancy bits over on Sports Center, so we're going to move on over to let him come on into. We'll get his opinions in just a bit. Look at that. I love how it can be easily moved. But Kasey, continue your point then you were saying about the subs and the impact that Jesse Marsch made when he made them.
Yeah, I mean, when your star striker comes off when you're a goal down, it seems odd. Yeah. Right, that you would say bring on some players to help the star striker get that goal, and then go on and see if you can find a winner. But Jesse was confident enough in his substitutes that he could take off his star man and still be able to get the goal. Maybe if he hadn't have taken him off, maybe they could have found the second. But in the end, the decision was decent.
The decision was decent indeed. Like I said, our Hercules Gomez has joined us at the desk. He's just saying hi to a couple of his loyal fans behind him who are calling his name. But Herc, what did you think about the game? Does it feel like Canada now are backed up against the wall?
A bit, because you have to imagine that the Swiss are going to be in control of this group. It's a perennial second-round team. It's a very good team, lots of talent, very difficult. Qatar may be the whipping boy of the bunch. So it's pretty much what you do with Qatar and Bosnia. And I'm sure the other teams are feeling the same way about Canada. But if you're Canada, you have to feel very good about what you just did. If you play this way in the next game, and against the Swiss, you may have an opportunity. You created countless opportunities, one after the other. Jonathan David missed a golden chance. Aloisi missed a golden chance. Two were cleared off the line. Richie Larea, when Promise David came on the field, he looked lively. This team going forward took lots of opportunities, lots of chances. Credit to Jesse Marsch. I heard you talking about Jesse Marsch making the subs. I completely agree. He takes a risk because when you make those subs and you're overloading channels, when you're overloading opposition going forward, you leave yourself man-to-man at the back. And a couple times, they almost got in trouble. They didn't. It's something to build on for a team that's never won at the World Cup. I thought it was a great opening game for the Canadian men's national team.
I asked these guys earlier on, too, because I was saying, when Bosnia went up against Italy, maybe they were underestimated a little bit going into this one. Do you feel like there was a little bit of that going into this game, too?
Yeah, I also feel that game's circumstantial. You get a player in the, 19th minute sent off. It conditions the rest of the math. Bosnia is a very good team. If you know the Bosnian people, what they've been through, they know how to overcome. They know how to roll with things. They were a team today that I thought ran out of gas. If you saw the way they played in the first half, the intensity to the second half, and maybe it's a precursor of things to come in this World Cup when you look at the European teams. Once the field started getting a little bit drier, once the level of intensity picked up and it's now more about conditioning, you saw them kind of bring it down. They didn't know how to react. And Canada, who was in their element at home in Toronto, were up for the challenge. I thought they were very unlucky not to get that goal. I don't want to say that the Canadian men's national team or Bosnia didn't give each other respect. I think they respected each other enough. It's just a game of emotions, a game of errors, a game of mistakes. Canada let one in, and then, well, Bosnia survived what they needed to survive.
JJ?
Yeah, you know what I think is I think that 1-1 is for both countries a really dangerous result. Because like you said it right now, I think Switzerland is the team who everybody's looking who lead this group. And then you fight already for the second position. So, and I think this position now is like Canada, who they play next, they have to win. So, but then if you have already played against Switzerland, well, then you have already a problem because you're hoping that Bosnia-Herzegovina is not winning against Qatar. You know, so because this game is for this both countries, it's a tough result. At the end, you have to be happy, but I think Canada will look back and say, man, why we don't finish this up with the chances we had? Because now, knowing that the next phase will face at one point Switzerland, and it can cost you a lot of points.
JJ, I'm curious as to what's in the mind of the players and maybe both managers, because we saw yesterday versus Mexico, South Africa withered. And maybe those 2 red cards, maybe that second goal they gave up can be the difference between going on as one of the best third-place teams. A part of me said, I saw Canada going for it, but you also can't allow the team to concede or to score, because if you concede, that can mean the difference for you going on. So while I agree it's a dangerous result, it's not a bad result for either team. They leave themselves very much alive.
Well, somebody else who's very much alive is Alphonso Davies. Canada had to play today without who is undoubtedly their talisman. Well, Jesse Marsh, the Canadian manager, spoke about what we can expect from Alphonso Davies and probably how soon we can finally see him back out on the pitch.
We did an MRI with him yesterday. It showed very positive signs that he's healing incredibly well, almost completely. So, you know, we're getting ready to ramp things up. He will not be available for tomorrow, but I think that he's showing, like he always has, a real good ability to recover from muscle injuries. So I think that having his private physio here has been very helpful, and the concentration on his body's needs every day. And so we're really hopeful that over the next days and week that we can accelerate things and give him a chance to contribute here soon.
Jesse Marsh there giving us an update on Alphonso Davies' fitness. Kasey, positive signs we saw from Canada today, but how badly do they need their man?
Well, I mean, when you have a Bayern Munich player in your side, it definitely is going to help you rather than hurt you. And I think what it also gives you, depending on where he plays, sometimes he plays more advanced for Canada than he does for Bayern Munich. But what he would have allowed them to do is be able to push that extra man further up, because nobody was going to outrun him to get back and cover. So that would have given Canada that chance to put an extra player in an offensive position to even look for that winner after they got the equalizer, because you have the security of the pace of Alphonso Davies to track back and help you defensively, particularly when you know you have to get stretched.
JJ, of course, in Germany, you would have seen a lot of Alphonso Davies for Bayern Munich. What is it that you like about him as a player, and what he will give to Canada as they get ready for what should be their toughest match of the group against Switzerland?
I think he gives you a presence. He's a player from Bayern Munich. I think he's the main player of the Canada team, and I think he has the speed going forward. But it's still what Kasey said. He's a player who always really good in recovering when he goes back. But I still think that depends on what position he plays. Then in Canada, what Jesse wants to do or try out. I think you will have an extra guy who I think is confident. He's not scared because he comes from Bayern Munich. He knows exactly, okay, I need this time to get 100% fit. But I think if he's fit and he can play, then he gets that extra edge to this team, and I think he can be really helpful.
Herc, do they need Fonzie?
Well, Jermaine and Kasey just mentioned the attributes of Alphonso Davies, and they were both in sync that they're physical attributes. He's got game-changing speed, the ability to be the last man and come in and kind of rescue that team. Nowhere in that analysis do they say how good of a technical player he is or tactical, because that's not his game with the Canadian men's national team. So if he's not 100%, if he's not physically fit for you, What does he bring into the table besides being a leader? Because he's a leader of this team.
Or that presence, that aura that JJ's
presence,
talking
yes.
about.
But his best ability is his speed, his game-changing trait. And if he's not 100%, I think he is limited here. I'd much rather have on the field at optimum level a Jonathan David than an Alphonso Davies. But an Alphonso Davies, with that experience, Bayern Munich, Champions League winner, at one point in time being one of the best left backs in the world, is certainly a benefit. But if he's not 100%, and we've seen him this year not be 100%, I don't really know the value of putting him out there and risking him.
Well, for those who probably don't watch our Football Americas show week in, week out, they will not know that Hercules Gomez is the president and founder of the Jonathan David fan club, aren't you, Herc?
Yeah.
But quickly, Kasey, before we move on, what did you make of what Herc had to say? Would you rather have, say, like a fully fit Jonathan David instead of an Alphonso Davies, even if he's not 100% or even 90%?
Yeah, I think so from the start. I think that's the question mark is, can Canada get through the group stage, get to that first knockout round, and let Alphonso Davies build into the tournament and get fit and then become what we know Alphonso Davies can be. But if you bring him back too early and he's out there for 10 minutes and gets re-injured, it does nobody any good. So for him, it really is about making sure he can perform at the level that not only does Canada expect, but that he expects of himself as well.
Yeah, and I think it's like the key point is the reality is that Canada is a transition team.
Yeah,
so
yes,
correct.
In that you have to have always in mind if you had a muscle injury and you have to go into that sprints and turn around and go back in the sprints, that's the game. So it's a high risk if you don't 100% fit that you can get injured too or injured yourself again. Of course, I think having an experienced player, maybe it can help too, to like in situations when I see the game today, that can somebody maybe be a little bit hard on the boys in a positive way, let them know, hey man, finish that chance, put it away, read the situation's difference because of his experience, because he played on the highest level, and can help too. But I think that's the stuff within, the coach has to figure out, is it better now to throw it in, risk it, or can we go over the bump? And I think that Jesse looked at it and said, I want him for the second game 100% fit. In for the first game, I give him maybe that one rest.
It also helps that the games aren't every 3 days like they were in World Cups in the past. Now you have 7 days to really, evaluate players, set a game plan. And I'm sitting next to two guys that at some point in their career have done management. They would probably know better how to throw in a player when he's coming back from injury. I don't think that's a player you bring off the bench necessarily.
Well, I think it's twofold as well. I mean, now that you're allowed 5 substitutes, it gives you a little bit more opportunity to manage minutes for a player, either to take them off or say to somebody, hey, look, we can bring you on for 10 minutes because we've already brought on 4 guys earlier. So that's another benefit for a player like Alphonso who needs to work his way back into fitness.